Sometimes you gotta admit when you're wrong, and I have to say I was wrong about this shoe right here, the Sachs general purpose shoe. I have been wearing these shoes for a few weeks now, so I'll let you know how these are holding up and also let you know why I went from absolutely hating on these to actually adding a pair to my personal collection. Let's go. So what is good, guys? And very quickly, if this is your first time here, my name is Josh. I do sneaker reviews and I'm dropping at least 3 videos a week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out. And give me a follow on my socials, as well as check out the best sneaker podcast out there, the Kickback Pod. All of the links are in the description. So the Sachs general purpose shoe. This sneaker first released in that light bone colorway several months ago. And if you follow me on Instagram or listen to my podcast, you might have noticed me being very harsh on that shoe, even going as far as to say that it looked like a collab between Sachs and the Nike outlet store. I just felt like the shoe was too generic looking and not so special. And it looked like so many existing Nike models, for example, the Nike Kill Shot or even the Nike Vapor 1. I understand that that might have been the whole point. That's why it kept being referred to as the boring shoe. But it still left me wondering why such a boring and unremarkable sneaker was reselling for so much, and that's why I felt like it was just way too overrated for what it is. But then I saw it in this sulfur colorway, and I gotta say, I was like, okay, you got my attention now. I was a lot more intrigued by it. It's funny how just a colorway switch up can make a shoe so much more interesting. A perfect colorway for the fall season, that dark yellow color, perfectly matching the leaves you see all over the ground these days. And another really appealing thing about this particular colorway to me was the resale prices. So they're really not reselling for too much, and my size was one of the bigger sizes. I did end up paying resale for my pair. I got them for 160 euros, which I was personally very pleased with. Considering this is a Sachs shoe and we know how much they typically resale for, I thought 160 was not too bad. But let's get into the shoe, starting off with the box. A pretty interesting looking box. You got the Nikecraft logo on the front, and underneath it says own less, do more. Basically, the whole premise of this shoe was that it was supposed to be your one shoe to handle everything, so you won't need to have a big sneaker collection. You just got this one shoe that's meant for every single purpose. And getting into the shoes themselves, so most of the upper of the shoe is made in this knit material, which is quite breathable. However, it's not as stretchy as, for example, a Nike Flyknit or Adidas Prime Knit. It's much more of a tougher knit material, so it's actually designed to keep rain from going through the shoe. And on the toe box, you have this fuse overlay, which is done in this weird squiggly shape. And on top of that, you get another overlay, this time done in suede. The swoosh on this colorway done in a bright white color. And then moving on to the back of the shoe, you once again get that Nikecraft logo there with some more suede panels. The sneaker also features multiple pull tabs, one on the tongue, one on the heel. I guess that seems to be one of the common elements in most of the Sachs collabs. Moving down to the midsole, so on this colorway, it's made to look like an aged midsole, and I prefer this particular colorway on the midsole rather than that original pair which came in that gum midsole. And then finally moving down to the outsole, a pretty rugged outsole there, something you would expect maybe on a boot. I have worn these quite a bit, so excuse the dirtiness of the outsole. You also do see that Nikecraft logo on the back. The Nikecraft logo can also be seen on the insole, and the sneaker also comes with a little bit of cushioning on the heel, which actually does add quite a bit to the overall comfort of the shoe. From a materials point of view, overall, nothing too impressive really with this sneaker. In fact, I've just worn this pair a couple of times, and you'll notice that the overlay, the fuse overlay on the toe box is already cracking in several places. I also wanted to comment on the intended purpose of this shoe. So the official name is the general purpose shoe. And after wearing it a few times, I would say that I would categorize this as simply just a lifestyle sneaker. It doesn't really work too well for running because the midsole is actually quite heavy. And then when it comes to hiking, what I noticed is that this outsole doesn't really work well in wet conditions. I wore these on a very rainy day in Berlin, and I gotta say, I didn't feel very safe walking around in these. My feet felt like they were sliding sometimes when walking, so there's just not very good traction here. And that's something that's kind of important when hiking, being able to actually work well in wet conditions. So that's why I would simply call this just a lifestyle shoe. That being said though, on this colorway, I do like the simplicity or boringness of this shoe because it does make it a pretty versatile pair of sneakers to pull off. And I've said this before, my favorite type of sneaker sneaker is the one that you can wear with a lot of different outfits, while at the same time, it does carry a bit of hype, so it's kind of like a casual flex. And this definitely falls in that category. However, I will say it is very much colorway dependent for me with these. So even when I look at some of the upcoming colorways, so there's this black and white, a red and white, and also this gray pair, and my thoughts remain the same when it comes to these shoes. They just look like pretty much any other Nike sneaker. There's really nothing special about them. There's also images of an upcoming brown and black colorway too. So I still think that based on all of the upcoming colorways and previously released ones, this Sulfur colorway was the only one that I was really interested in, and I think it looks the best on the silhouette. Moving on to sizing. So this sneaker actually released as a woman's pair, so it came in women's sizing. However, it did go up to a pretty big men's size as well. So if you were a men's 13.5, I believe, you were still able to cop this shoe. I normally am a men's US 11, but I got these a half size down in a 10.5 based on some other reviews I saw of the shoe. And I'm very glad I did because they fit me pretty perfectly right now. There's maybe a tiny bit of heel slippage, but it's not noticeable enough that I would go down a full size. If you have wide feet, then I would recommend you to actually go true to size because it is a women's pair after all. So as you know, they are generally more narrower than men's pairs. So that is my recommendation. If you got normal or narrow feet, then go down half a size. Wide footers, go true to size. From a comfort point of view, surprisingly, it doesn't look it, but it is a pretty comfortable shoe. The feeling when wearing these is that there seems to be more cushioning in the heel area rather than the forefoot, which isn't really something new. A lot of sneakers have more cushioning in the heel, but you really feel it when walking in these. You don't really notice it that much after wearing it a few times, as you just kind of forget it. Looking at what these are going for right now on the resale market, so luckily, if you are a woman's size, then there's pretty much little to no resale to speak of. The bigger men's sizes, it seems like the bigger up you go in size, the more expensive the shoe gets. Some sizes are selling for more than 200 right now. This pair was a lot more widely available than that original colorway. That's why the prices are much cheaper on this one. My recommendation is that only pay resale for this if you truly just love this colorway compared to everything else that will be dropping, because it seems like Nike is planning to release this shoe in tons of colorways going forward. So I think you will end up saving quite a bit of money if you just wait for some of the future colorways. But if you do really like this colorway, then yeah, definitely go ahead and cop. The prices are pretty cheap overall for a Tom Sachs release. Overall, the Tom Sachs general purpose shoe in the Sulfur colorway, I was definitely wrong to completely write off the shoe, because in the right colorway, it is a pretty looking shoe, and I get it. It's a shoe that you don't have to worry too much about styling. It goes with pretty much everything, which is quite appealing. I also like that it seems Tom Sachs took it upon himself to make this as widely available as possible. So because the prices are not too absurd, and I do think this is a very nice colorway, I'm surprisingly gonna give a Tom Sachs shoe a cop. Let me know your thoughts on this pair. If any of you guys copped it, how's your experience been wearing this shoe? And of course, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It takes a second, but it really helps me out, so make sure you do that. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.